Hey, welcome back. Good to have you here. Pour whatever you're drinking, sit back. Because today isn't really a political story. It's a math story. And math stories are always the ones nobody wants to look at too closely, because the numbers, once you actually add them up, tend to be rude. Here's a thing about carnival games that most people learn the hard way exactly once. There's a version of the ring toss where the bottles are angled just slightly so the ring bounces off no matter how good you are. The operator doesn't need you to lose on purpose. He just needs the game to be built so that losing is the only realistic outcome, while he collects $1 a throw, regardless of whether you walk away with a stuffed animal or empty-handed. Nobody running that booth cares who wins. He's already won every single time someone picks up a ring. Now, keep that in your head, because we're about to talk about roughly 1 million Americans who thought they were playing a different game entirely, and were, in fact, standing at that exact booth. According to Forbes, which has been tracking this with the kind of patience usually reserved for people who enjoy pain, the Trump family has, across 5 separate ventures, Trump Media, World Liberty Financial, the president's own memecoin, Melania Trump's memecoin, and American Bitcoin, cashed out roughly $1.9 billion in hard proceeds and is sitting on a total windfall of about $3.1 billion. Their supporters, the people who actually believed in the product enough to put their savings behind it, are collectively down an estimated $7 billion. Separately, the analytics firm Nansen ran its own count just on the memecoin alone and landed on nearly 1 million buyers underwater to the tune of $3.8 billion. Reuters ran a third independent investigation and arrived at yet another number in the same grim neighborhood. 3 separate outlets, 3 separate methodologies, and they all somehow managed to agree on the one detail that matters. The family got out, and the fans did not. Forbes described the mechanism in 3 tidy steps, and it really is almost elegant in its cruelty. First, the invention, dream up a business concept, put in almost no capital of your own, and keep a massive slice of the equity. Second, the sale. Whip the true believers into a frenzy and cash out while the frenzy is still hot. Third, the mess, stand back and watch the asset collapse and quietly salvage whatever scraps are left. Right now, every single one of these 5 ventures is deep into stage 3. Trump Media shares are down 89% from their peak. World Liberty's token has fallen 82%. The president's memecoin is off 98%. Melania's version has dropped 99%, which is genuinely impressive, in the way that a plane crash is impressive. American Bitcoin shares are down 95%. And through all of that, somehow, remarkably, the family's own math still nets out positive by billions. Funny how that works. Let's put faces on the 7 billion, because a number that large stops meaning anything after a while. There's a 26-year-old video editor. We'll leave him as Pinto, since that's how Forbes introduced him, who put in $7,000, watched it go crazy, as he put it, and rode that excitement into a $480,000 position. That got him an invitation to one of the president's private investor dinners. He said the food was mediocre and the service worse. No soda, just water, which is either an oversight or the most honest metaphor of the entire crypto boom. He eventually walked away roughly $250,000 poorer. There's Ryan Kenney, a 41-year-old military spouse, who put almost $100,000 into American Bitcoin. It's worth about $9,000 now. Maybe people didn't lose as much as I did, he says, quietly doing the math on how many families just like his are absorbing losses in the low 5 figures, one at a time, uncounted. And there's a Washington state truck driver who'd spent his entire adult life saving over $100,000 for a house near family in Florida, decided the Trump Media SPAC looked like a better bet than a mortgage, and watched the shares jump 1,650% in 2 days before sliding the rest of the way down. To him, at the time, that dip looked like a discount. Of course it did. Not everyone lost, which is the part that really tells you how the game was built. Morton Christensen, who runs a crypto tracking site, bought the president's memecoin the moment it launched and sold within days, before the fans even finished celebrating. He made roughly 30 times his money. He's admirably honest about why. The MAGA people, they really believe, he says, and then, without much apparent guilt, explains that he's simply there for the profit, watching from inside group chats full of people who, in his words, are remarkably good at ignoring the numbers in front of them. He's not a villain in this story. He's just the only guy at the carnival booth who understood it wasn't actually a game of skill. And here's the structural detail that explains why the family comes out ahead, almost no matter what the token does. A national ethics watchdog put it about as plainly as it can be put. He's not invested personally in his own meme coin, which means when the price collapses from $75 to under $2, he loses nothing because there was nothing of his own in it to lose. What he earns instead is a cut of every single trade. The buying, the selling, the panic, the hope, all of it generates fees, and all of those fees flow the same direction regardless of which way the price is moving. It's not a bet on the coin succeeding. It's a toll booth built in the middle of other people's bets. Asked directly about profiting from the presidency, the president gave reporters an answer that was, in its own way, completely consistent with everything else here. Because the stock market is going up, everybody's profiting. Which is true, and also not remotely the question that was asked. Pressed separately on his own knowledge of the family's crypto dealings, he offered this: "I could know about it, I didn't." A sentence that manages to be both a denial and a shrug at the same time, which, as legal defenses go, is at least efficient. Now, the crypto losses would be a strange enough story on their own, if this were the only place the family's fingerprints showed up. It isn't. Around the same period this reporting broke, a separate investigation found Eric Trump and Donald Trump Jr. connected to investments in roughly 10 military contractors that have collectively pulled in about $3.7 billion in federal funding since the administration began. Around the same time, a mining arrangement in Kazakhstan tied to family-linked businesses and the Commerce Secretary was reported at $1.6 billion. None of these are the crypto story specifically. All of them are the same shape. And that shape has consequences that go well past a few 100,000 disappointed investors, because this is happening at the exact moment the president is also the one setting crypto policy. Investigations into major exchanges have been quietly dropped. People convicted of laundering money were released. One of the largest platforms involved has separately been reported to have let funds flow toward Iran, a detail that sits uncomfortably close to a family business receiving hundreds of millions from foreign-linked investors. During the same window, the administration was easing enforcement. This is the part that should actually worry you, whatever you think about crypto as an asset class. Not that people lost money speculating, people always lose money speculating, but that the person writing the rules for the casino also happens to own the building. Because underneath the memecoins and the goodie bags and the Trump-branded cologne shaped like tiny golden statues, yes, that's real, and no, I'm not going to pretend that detail isn't the most on-brand image of the entire administration. There's a genuinely serious question sitting quietly in the corner. What does it mean for a reserve currency and the sanctions power that comes with it when the person overseeing financial regulation is simultaneously the single largest beneficiary of the least regulated corner of that same market? Congress has spent months negotiating ethics guardrails for exactly this scenario, and has, so far, mostly negotiated with itself. No law has actually closed the gap. So, if you're keeping score, the fans lost $7 billion, give or take, depending on which count you trust. The family is up 3.1. And the most remarkable part of the whole arrangement isn't even the size of the gap. It's that everyone involved got to watch it happen in real time, in public, with receipts. And the operation is still running exactly the way it was built to run. Which is, I suppose, the most honest advertisement American capitalism has ever produced for itself. You can lose the game in full view of everyone, including yourself, and still be thanked for playing. I'm Marcus Fenn. This is Borderlines. If you think stories like this deserve more daylight than they're getting, subscribe, because the toll booth isn't closing anytime soon, and someone should keep counting the cars.